guys, it's the holiday season. You guys know what that means? Wow, Reese, Jesus? No, Hallmark movies. Let's talk about how Hallmark are branding geniuses, okay? They were at the forefront of all this branding and advertising nonsense. They really paved the way and made a blueprint for everyone to follow. On Reese Gray Analyzes, we look at creations and experiences in art, media, music, and even video games to explore exactly why we think the way we think, question what we believe, and learn something new. And so I'm pretty much addicted to learning something new, right? So, you know those restless nights? And you're just laying in bed and you have to Wikipedia something. Okay, so that's kind of what I did for today's video. I know nothing about the lore of Hallmark. No boy, are you guys in for a treat, okay? Even if you don't watch Hallmark movies, everybody knows what I'm talking about. The cheesy, very brightly lit small town girl in a small town world meets a rich fella in New York who whisks her away with the power of Christmas magic and whatever. I'm a sucker for it. I love it. And you know why? It's not because it's good. It's not because it's good content. It's the same reason people watch like Love is Blind or Too Hot to Handle. Is it good? No, it's just entertaining, and everyone has their little vices, and mine is unfortunately Hallmark movies. I'm just a sucker for them. So let's break down the lore of Hallmark. A Hallmark lore speedrun, if you will. First of all, the biggest shock of my life is that Hallmark, the Hallmark channel, it was actually started by the Hall family. Okay, this is an entire family. So it starts out with one teenager with a dream. So in 1908, our little 16-year-old boy, Joyce Hall, started a postcard company in their local town. And he got his two older brothers, Raleigh and William, to invest in this like postcard company, right? Kansas City, Missouri, right? So they were on like a train town. So everyone in 1908 is trying to send letters back to their family, postcards back to their family, let them know they're safe, let them know how they're doing on their travels. And so, you know, they took advantage of that and sold beautiful postcards, which I think is a really, really wholesome start to like Hallmark, because you know Hallmark cards in general, right, are like cheesy, sappy, lovely Hallmark cards. So they like stuck true basically to that theme for almost a century now. And I love the start too, because it's like really wholesome. Like it's Shark Tank friendly, right? It's like at 16, I imported postcards and sold them at the train station. Like, oh, they eat that up. They love that. He'd get invested in. I'd invest. So anyway, in 1910, 2 years later, after they started this company, Joyce would be 18, but he actually dropped out of high school because his postcard company was going that well. And so remember, at this point, you know, he's a import man. He's not creating original content yet. You know, he's importing cards and then selling them to stores at a markup price so he can make some mun-muns. And so apparently he's doing pretty well that his older brothers join him in Kansas City so they can all sell cards together. And then 5 years later, the brothers came, they made a store and everything, and it got set on fire. Like, not arson or something, but like it burned down. All of their stock, all of everything that they had burned to the ground. So these three brothers have to start from scratch. What do you do when you have no stationery, right? January 11th. 1915, they start making original content. It only took them 7 years, right? So they bought, you know, you don't have freaking printers, right? So they bought an engraving press so they could press cards for their shop, original cards. And they pull out a loan for this, and this is the mark of the very first Hallmark cards ever in 1915. And you know how those like annoying people are always like, oh, everything happens for a reason. Like, there's a season and a reason for everything. But like, honestly, if his store wouldn't have gotten burned down, maybe they wouldn't be pushed to be making original content. And that's really annoying to say. And I regret it. But, you know, it pushed them to do something awesome and cool. So, hey, take a positive out from a negative. Their store freaking burned down. Can you believe that? I'd be so upset. But it makes for a good story, though. It makes for a really good origin story. And he could have went villain with it, but he went sappy postcards with it. So they engrave their cards and make them for 6 years now. And now it's 1921. And they finally scrape together what they have. And it's the roaring 20s, you know? And they create their first, brand. The Hallmark Brothers Incorporation. So that's their, first solid branding thing, right? So they had their company. And then Joyce, the original Hallmark member, he starts saying, well, now we should brand every card, like the back of it. You know how on the back of every Hallmark card it says a Hallmark card? They're like, why would we do that? That's really stupid way to use ink in our technology. Why would you do that? And he's like, no, we should do it, trust me. And of course, as we all know nowadays, the branding worked. Hallmark built their brand. They were known for their sappy emotional cards, their heartfelt cards that were branded in the back. Another thing that was super weird, remember, it's 1920, and he was all along with branding, we should also advertise. And they're like, why would we advertise our cards when we can just, take some cards under our arm, go to local Piggly Wiggly or whatever, and then sell, our cards. Why would we spend money to let people know that we exist? Advertising, that's weird in 1920. And they did advertise, and then it worked. A lot later, about 18 years later, comes their first sponsorship. So they sponsored a radio show, which is super fun. So this radio show was called Tony Wan's Radio Scrapbook, where people would write in letters to the show, and they would write in letters in their Hallmark cards to this show, which then just solidified their branding more to this heartfelt love type of vibe, for their brand. Genius. So after Tony Wan's scrapbook, radio scrapbook, we move on into the 50s-ish, things move slowly now. Nothing was at a rocket pace, right? Because technology also developed slowly. So in 1938, we had a radio show. In the 50s, television. They started sponsoring TV shows. And you know how Hallmark is known for their boring TV shows nowadays? Well, they started out sponsoring boring TV. So the Hallmark Hall of Fame was dedicated to televised dramatizations of classic plays like Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet. Other things that I can't remember that I have written down in case there's any drama buffs in the building. We have Richard II, The Taming of the Shrew, Macbeth, Twelfth Night, and The Tempest. And you're like, wow, that's so boring, but, maybe a few people like them. No, a lot of people like them. This was extremely popular. It won numerous awards, and the Hallmark Hall of Fame from the 1950s to the 1980s, 30 years, is the US's longest running anthology series period ever. And it's just what? Yeah, so people loved it, ate it up, yum, 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 yum. Theater. But also during this same time, 1950s, where they venture into television, 1950s is when they start associating themselves. Hallmark starts associating themselves with Christmas. Finally, 40 years after Joyce put his postcards in a shoebox and sold them at a train station at Kansas City, Missouri, we finally get Christmas-themed Hallmark stuff. So, 1950, Hallmark Christmas. This is due to the Hallmark Hall of Fame things. There's a show called Amal's Christmas Special, which is award-winning. It's basically an opera. It's an opera about Christmas, okay? And people, yum, 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 love that, right? And they loved this. And they love Hallmark. Amal's Christmas Opera Special was their first Christmas special, and this was 36 years before they acquire what will become known as the Hallmark Channel later. So the Hallmark Channel originally, of course, was not the Hallmark Channel. It was a religious live show channel. So we all know that Hallmark aligns itself a lot with like family values. So Christianity, family values, not all family values. We know that's what they're known for, but originally the sermon network ran for 16 hours a day because TV wasn't always 24 hours a day. So for 16 hours a day, it would be like sermons, like even Muslim sermons, Christian, Catholic, Protestant, everything under the sun on this channel for actually 65 different religions. I could not name 65 different religions, and that's pretty awesome. So for 18 hours a day, that's what the original Hallmark Channel did. And then Hallmark Channel always invested in this channel because, you know, that's where they would run their Hallmark Hall of Fame programs on. And so they acquired more and more stake in the channel, investing more and more. Eventually, in the 1980s, that's when they rebranded as the Family Values Channel and started pivoting more towards family-friendly content and not strictly religious content, but it had obviously a huge backing in religion and a huge religious following for Hallmark cards because of the Christmas specials. So then we're left with like, you know, the 50s to the 80s, they were doing television and slowly acquired the Hallmark Channel. So between the 50s and the 80s, Hallmark does a lot of marketing genius stuff. Like in the 60s and 70s, they start partnering with family-friendly brands and TV shows like Peanuts. Hallmark had Peanuts, the characters, and Snoopy, all of those like all over Hallmark card. Peanuts and Hallmark became synonymous with each other. And Peanuts is so perfect for that family-friendly vibe. Like, what do they do that's offensive? What is offensive about Snoopy? Such marketing prowess there. So another thing with these Peanuts lines, they started the ambassador cards lines with all of these characters and stuff, trying to make cards affordable and accessible for everybody, which is hilarious because my parents never let us buy cards because they're not going to spend even $2 on a piece of paper. They're like, you have crayons and find a paper at home, make a card for your friend. Like, they weren't buying us cards ever. So if your parents bought you cards, let me know in the description because no one I know parents like bought cards until Thomas's family like sent us really fancy like Hallmark pop-up cards. I was like, oh my God, there is a market for these people. Like, oh wow, I guess Thomas family is like single-handedly like the freaking upholding the Hallmark name. So during the Hallmark boom, they also acquire like a jigsaw puzzle factory as well and start selling like puzzles at their Hallmark stores too. So we all know that Hallmark is really into like crafts and like family like heirloom stuff too that like you keep in your family for like decades. This brings me to Hallmark ornaments. Guys, the marketing with these Hallmark ornaments is insane. Amidst the Hallmark boom from the 50s to the 80s, right? So in the midst of their like them sponsoring a bunch of TV shows and stuff, in 1973, they launched Hallmark's keepsake ornaments. I'm sure you guys have seen them. They're all over Walmart and Target and everything. And they've been collector's items since the 70s, and some are worth hundreds of dollars. And with the turn of the century, they always had these cards. They always had these ornaments, you know, but it's tough. It's tough because you know what? Christmas, you know, is one season of the year. Birthdays here and there, you know, people don't spend too much money on it. Do you know the term Christmas in July? Did you guys know that was Hallmark marketing? Hallmark marketing did Christmas in July. They would run their Christmas specials and stuff in July and aggressively sell their keepsake ornaments in July so you'd be like ready for December. I had no idea. A term, Christmas in July, was so intertwined in our culture. I had no idea where it came from. And then, you know, cards get boring. People only care about Peanuts so much. And I'm sure the licensing deals, you know, they got a little expensive for poor little Hallmark. You know, Hallmark needs to like, you know, make some more money. So what do? You know, at the turn of the century, 2009, cute characters. We can make a cute character. You know what they do? Hoops and Yo-Yo. Isn't Hoops and Yo-Yo the cutest things ever? I remember seeing these in the card stores and stuff. And like they would play music. So like the 2000s and stuff, like 2005. I don't know when the first musical card came out, but they started coming out when I was like 10, 11, 12 or something. Cards started playing music. Okay, that's huge. That was huge for me. And I would stand in the card section and like just open the cards and listen to the cute little like 30 seconds of music or whatever. I remember there was like a Backstreet Boys one and it was like happy birthday and it was like the Backstreet Boys and you open it and it's just like it's gonna be May and it's just dumb, but I loved it. Okay, and so they start making cards with the music. They start doing hoops and yo-yo cards. You start being able to record messages in your cards too. Insanity. We love it. Hallmark are geniuses. And like, you know, the 50s through the 80s, things go really fast. So 2009, we had talking cards, recording cards, hoops and yo-yo, Christmas in July, or Jingle All the Way special, right? And then we also have the countdown to Christmas start in 2009. 2009, whoever was in charge. That's a big deal, man, because every single day, a new Christmas movie in December until Christmas. Like, tell me that's not the most genius thing ever, okay? So, do we feel good? Do we feel good about Hallmark today? Do we feel like Hallmark represents us? Do we feel like Hallmark is a part of our family? I guess. I do. I like it. I like the cards, but they start to dabble. You know, there's this intersection of like capitalism, family values, and then diversity and the complexity of the American household, right? So we have all these parts, and then Hallmark's like, we are a family channel. We want to sell to everybody. We want to make money off of everybody. So we should probably start being like diverse, like honoring diversity or something like that. And then the execs were like, oh yeah, like that's totally cool. Like we should totally do that. And they don't really start really getting spicy until like 2019. Okay, so they decide to be diverse in 2019, right? So we had, for Hallmark standards, absolute insanity. We had 2 women kissing on a Zola commercial, which is wild for Hallmark. Everybody knows that 2 girls kiss sometimes and love each other and like can marry each other. But this was horrible for Hallmark viewers and they despised it and they pulled it from the air. So in 2019, most of the Hallmark viewers we're not feeling this diversity and inclusion type of vibes here. So when that got pulled, and Hallmark apologized. But like they have to keep that audience, right? You know, if you're trying to be diverse and then you double down, it just makes you look worse. It makes you look worse. So, but that's what they did. But then they apologized for pulling the ad, and it was just like a bunch of back and forth. It was messy. All right, I will say that Hallmark are marketing geniuses, but when you throw diversity into it, it gets tougher. Okay, it gets tougher for everybody. So they try again. They're all like, okay, girls can't kiss on the Hallmark channel. What can we do? It takes them 3 years to figure it out. We go from 2019, girls kissing commercial, to 2022, and we have the release of Hallmark's first movie under Mahogany Brands. They used both the term Black and African American audience to try and get them to like their movies, and they have their first Mahogany Brands movie called Unthinkably Good Things. Now, this is on my watch list. I haven't watched it yet. I actually just found out. I didn't even know that Hallmark had like their diverse line of cards, literally, until like looking this up. So obviously as a Hallmark lover, like they have it in there, but I feel like they like hid it or something. Why haven't I seen it? Did I just like not notice? I don't know. That's weird to me. So you guys let me know what you think about this intersection of diversity and capitalism, how that makes you guys feel. But it just strikes me as weird, I guess. They just have like Black people in a regular Hallmark movie. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. So let me know. I mean, I don't think other than Brenda Song. Brenda Song was definitely in some Hallmark Christmas movies, I'm pretty sure, or at least like on some Christmas movies on Freevee. But other than that, I don't think I've seen like an Asian person in a Hallmark movie, but that would be really cool if they wanted to do that sometime. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it for free. I'll be in your Hallmark movie, Hallmark. Like, can someone like, I know we don't use Twitter or X anymore, but we use Blue Sky. Can someone Blue Sky the Hallmark execs for me and like let them know that if they want to dabble into it, like they can call me. So what's our big takeaway? What is our big takeaway and our lesson that we get from this Reese Gray Analyzes? Because there's always a really, really deep, important lesson. Hallmark movies aren't just about romance. Christmas miracles are rekindling old flames. They're a perfectly crafted blend of storytelling and marketing, designed to make you feel warm and fuzzy and spend your money. And while the channel claims to stay out of politics, their shift towards a more inclusive content has stirred controversy and conversations about diversity and representation in media. So the next time you curl up with a cup of cocoa and a Hallmark movie, just remember, behind that snow-covered small town and heartfelt romance, there's a lot more at play. And thus I unwrapped the present that you didn't even know you wanted, the lore of Hallmark movies and why the execs are marketing geniuses. This was really fun. I hope you guys found it fun and lighthearted and had a good time, because this was really fun for me and just light. So we'll see how it does in post. Sorry, editors. Well, it's been a while, per usual. But you know what hasn't changed? I love you guys. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.